Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MS Pierce. This is Ukraine War breaking news update, where we understand that Ukraine may well have just used ballistic missiles against Russia, according to some Russian sources, as we shall see. Now, before we get into it, please remember to like, subscribe, and share. That would be fantastic. Thank you for your assistance. Okay, let's get into it. So here we have a fighter bomber Telegram post. This is a source that is either very close to the Russian Air Force or is indeed serving in the Russian Air Force. We're not quite sure. Fighter bomber says, the old ladies at the entrance report that the Crests tried to attack Voronezh with ballistic missiles. Crests being Ukrainians, old ladies at the entrance, I presume locals around Belgorod, Voronezh, maybe. Tried to attack Voronezh with ballistic missiles this afternoon, most likely Hrim-2 ATPGEO missiles. We'll talk about them in a second. There were 5 to 6 missiles. Other old ladies claimed there were 3 type to be confirmed. That's quite a lot. This is the first time since the beginning of the SVO, Special Military Operation, as far as I know. This type never made it before. We fought back normally. We fought back normally means we used air defense, and I assume claim is they shot them all down. So let's look at a couple of videos pertaining to these missiles. This is one that shows a number of explosions in the air here. So you got 4 explosions up there of air defense. Now, how successful were they? I have no idea. There's just 4 puffs of smoke in the air. So yeah, that doesn't tell us how many missiles are fired, what missiles they were, and whether the missiles were shot down by air defense. So, you know, lots of pinches of salt here. So I'm not sure how much that tells us, but the claims were out, some hours ago that they were supposedly ballistic missiles. It's reported that air defense against ballistic missiles was activated in Voronezh, said Max 25, a good almost 3 hours ago, 2.5 hours ago.
Даже вот в облаке от снаряда, скорее всего.
So that tells us virtually nothing other than you can just about hear the sirens in the background and some trails of smoke in the air. And then likewise over here, sound of air defense. I'm not sure the deep rumble there sounds like a hit or landing on the ground, but I can't be sure.
Там, вон, пожалуй, люди в шоке сейчас были, с магазина вышли. Вон тоже люди смотрят. Чё, откуда? Сирена.
And there you go. So we don't really have a lot to go on at the moment, other than the claim is from some fairly decent sources that the Russians are trying to deal with some ballistic missiles, certainly missiles. Now, the suggestion from fighter bomber was that the Ukraine is using Hrim-2 or Grum-2 or the ATPGEO Sapsan. So some of you might have heard of the Sapsan. It was a missile that they're supposed to have kind of active before the outbreak of this war in different forms. This latest iteration, it says 2025 to present, with a 480 kilogram warhead, so fairly useful. Operational range of 400 to 500 kilometers. It depends whether it's the export version or not. Otherwise, it's under 300 kilometers as according to the rules. But yeah, so we have this Ukrainian short-range ballistic missile system being developed by KB Pivdene and PA Pivden Mash. Designed to combine the features of a tactical missile system and a multiple rocket launcher, the original Sapsan version of the missile for Ukraine's own use was to have a range of 500 kilometers. The later Hrim-2 version, developed for export, although they won't be exporting these, has a range limited to 280 kilometers, so they say, in order to fall within the 300 kilometer limit set by the Missile Technology Control Regime, which seeks to limit the proliferation of missiles and missile technology. So, yeah, there are claims that this is in usage. Let's look at 2025. In June 2025, Ukraine claimed to have conducted its first combat test of the Hrim-2 at a range of 300 kilometers. According to the Ukrainian government, the missile has entered serial production. The stated range is 300 kilometers, reaching speeds of Mach 5.2 and carrying a 480 kilogram warhead, exceeding the capabilities of the ATACMS ballistic missile and placing it close to those of the 9K720 Iskander. It was also disclosed that the Hrim-2 does not have an official name. On August 14th this year, the FSB and Russian armed forces claimed to have destroyed Hrim-2 missile production sites. So it could be why you haven't seen it in mass usage, eliminating both the threat of Ukrainian missile strikes deep inside Russian territory and the technical base for the missile's production capacity. So we have heard for a long time that the Ukrainians are going to be using ballistic missiles. We'd heard that actually much earlier on in the war, and then it could well be, it seems fairly plausible actually, that the Russians possibly did hit the manufacturing facility for these missiles, and that set them back, and maybe they've got that back up and running, and they are in the throes of building these missiles and using them possibly today against the Russians, or maybe not. Maybe, I don't know how fighter bomber would be able to know what ballistic missiles were being utilized here. So I guess there's going to be a huge amount of speculation. However, if it's true that the Russians are seeing ballistic missiles fly over their heads, that the Ukrainians are using them, is very good news for the Ukrainians. They should be much harder to shoot down. Well, it could be that they've actually been successfully shot down here, which is obviously a bit more of a problem for Ukraine. But otherwise, ballistic missiles should be a challenge to shoot down, and that could be good news for the Ukrainians, who will need a great variety of weapons to use against Russia. So the more, the merrier, I guess. It means that the air defenses need to be more wide-ranging. Okay, that's now for me. I was just trying to see if there's any more information on that, but it doesn't look like that is the case. I'll keep my eyes peeled about this, but I think it is significant enough to report to you, and let's hope we see more and more of this kind of activity as the war proceeds from Ukraine. In the meantime, please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.